Okay, back again. This is video number 3 in our text formatting and layout series. This gets into some more advanced work. We're going to use what are called shortcodes to alter the layout of our pages. Right now, at the time I'm making this video, there are 3 shortcodes that come packaged with each theme. Those would be blurb, pull quote, and table. A blurb is exactly what it sounds like. It's a small chunk of text floated off to one side or the other from the main body of your page. To use an example, this is an album from my lighting design portfolio. This is a show I designed a while back. I want to float a little section here that lists the theater name, the director, the other designers involved, and so on. So I come over here, and in front of the text, in front of the main body text, I type open bracket. It's these square brackets in the upper right portion of your keyboard. Blurb, close the bracket. Open it again, / blurb, close the bracket again. That is the general syntax of a shortcode. Within my blurb, I will write the House Theater of Chicago, directed by Dennis Watkins, scenery by Colette Pollard. Again, I could go on. I can format within the blurb, make that bold. And I believe I touched on this in adding albums to your portfolio, but to get this single line rather than the double line, you press Shift when you press return. That gives you the single line return. Update. Come back here, we refresh our page, and you see my blurb is floated off to the right. Now, supposing I wanted my blurb on the left. I can assign attributes to my shortcode. So within the opening tag here, I go space, side is the name of my attribute, equals, and then in quotes I type left. Update it, refresh the page, and my blurb is floated to the left. A pull quote is just a special kind of block quote. We touched on the block quote here in part 1 of these videos. So a pull quote creates a block quote but allows you some extra formatting options. So it's the same syntax as the blurb. Pull quote. So I will just paste some text into my pull quote, you'll see. And at its simplest, it does just create exactly the same thing as the block quote that we demonstrated in part 1. You can see it just sets off the text. However, supposing you wanted to attribute this quote to somebody, you can come over here and give it an attribute called cite, C-I-T-E, equals, and in quotes, some guy. Update, refresh, and you'll see it comes up as some guy. Now, supposing you want to say where that some guy works. In order to add a second line, it's sort of a special code. You put 2 stars and then some newspaper. Update, refresh, and you'll see it shows up as a second line. Now you can add another attribute called big equals true, and it doubles the text size. And then if you want to make it even more eye-catching, you can add what's called a drop cap. Drop cap equals true. Update, refresh, and that increases the size of the first letter. And the last shortcode I'm going to go over today is for creating tables. So let's go back to our typography page. I'm going to delete everything there. So we've got a clean slate. I'm also going to open this up to full screen because it's easier to see. Now, if you want to create a table of information, divide it up into rows and columns. It's going to be the same old shortcode syntax. Table, close table, and skip 2 lines. Now this is where it becomes important to know the difference between the full return that skips a line and the shift return that does not skip a line, because that's how the table knows where to start a new row of cells. So you'll see I have created 2 full returns, and I'm going to start typing my first row of data. So we'll just call it row 1, column 1. So that would be my first cell. And if I press shift return, type row 1, column 2, shift return, row 1, column 3. That's my first row of data. So now, to start a new row, I press return, and that skips a line, and that's how the table knows that you want a new row. Row 2, column 1, oops, row 2, column 2, row 2, column 3. Now, through the miracle of video production, I'm going to create a whole bunch of rows in a very short amount of time. I've got my rows delineated by full return, my cells delineated by shift return. If I exit full screen view, update my page, go back to typography, you can see I've created rows and columns. Now, supposing you didn't want this to span the entire page, you can give it a width attribute and specify it by a percentage. So I said 50%, update, and my table is now half the width of my page. Now it's also sometimes helpful for readability in large tables to have alternating row colors, which is also built in here. If you want that, you can give the alt underscore rows attribute, make that true, update, refresh your page. You've got alternating rows, which makes your table a little more readable. So that about does it for shortcodes. As I said, these are the 3 that are currently available while I'm making this video now. I will announce as more come out and post videos accordingly. So, until next time.